This is Pastor Mark Driscoll speaking at Mars Hill Church. This particular sermon is about the various ways to see God, as he puts it. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to focus on his description of atheism.
There are various ways of seeing God. There are, in fact, basically 5. We'll call them worldviews, ways of viewing the world and your place in it in relation to God and what ensues after this life. The first is atheism. Theos, God, not. So atheism is that there is no God. There is no God.
Wow, I'm actually impressed at this initial description of atheism. Atheism, there is no God, is a respectable way to put it. Okay, let's move on.
Now, if that is the case, then this life is all we've got. There's no God who made us. There's no God who knows us. There's no God who's come for us. There's no God to comfort us. And when we die, there's no God to greet us. Just this life. That's all that there is.
That is correct. There is no proof of any sort of omnipotent being to comfort us in life and greet us after death. I'm guessing you find this sort of reality displeasing?
Philosophically, if worked out to its logical conclusion, this is a horrific way to live your life.
Oh, really? To base one's life on reality and not superstition is a horrific way to live your life? What is so horrible about reality that you have to believe in superstition to comfort yourself?
I'll give you 2 quotes. The first is from Bertrand Russell, the great atheistic philosopher. I put great in quotes, at least in my mind. He says this, that man is the product of causes which had no provision of the end they were achieving, that his origin, his growth, his hopes and fears, his loves and his beliefs are but the outcome of accidental collocations of atoms, that no fire, no heroism, no intensity of thought and feeling can preserve an individual life beyond the grave, that all the labors of the ages, all the devotion, all the inspiration, all the noonday brightness of human genius are destined to extinction in the vast death of the solar system. And the whole temple of man's achievement must inevitably be buried beneath the debris of a universe in ruins. All these things, if not quite beyond dispute, are yet so nearly certain that no philosophy which rejects them can hope to stand. Only within the scaffolding of these truths, only on the firm foundation of the unyielding despair, can the soul's habitation henceforth be safely built. Here's what he's saying. There is no God. You come from nowhere and no one. You're here for no purpose. If you are hurting or suffering, there is no one to help you or rescue you or comfort you. And when you die, there is nothing awaiting you. What he's saying is this is the scaffolding for life. And the foundation, he says, is, quote, unyielding despair.
Well, you have that partly correct. The quote he is referring to is from Bertrand Russell's essay, A Free Man's Worship. Russell is indeed saying we were not created by God, that there is no grand overall meaning. When our universe is gone, there will likely be no remnants of our existence at all. However, you have misinterpreted the last bit. Russell did not end at unyielding despair. He is simply describing the point at which someone comes to the understanding that there is no grand meaning to life. He describes it as a gate. The gate of a cavern is despair, and its floor is paved with the gravestones of abandoned hopes. Yes, it can be quite disheartening when one realizes there is nothing outside of this life for each of us. This leads to a brief moment of despair. But he's not saying you must remain at this state for the rest of your life. Later he says, but out of the cavern of the gate of renunciation leads again to the daylight of wisdom, by whose radiance a new insight, a new joy, a new tenderness shine forth to gladden the pilgrim's heart. Once one accepts the reality of the universe, they should embrace it. With this comes joy and amazement in the universe and in reality.
Richard Dawkins, a more modern-day atheist, was asked the question, doesn't your worldview lead you to be depressed? Here's what he said. I don't feel depressed about it, but if somebody does, that's their problem.
Well, yes, it is their problem when you get right down to it. Anyone can be understandably depressed when they realize there is no God to answer their prayers. This is when they should realize there is too much here in reality to live for, to stay depressed. To rely on oneself, family, and friends, not the supernatural.
Maybe the logic is deeply pessimistic. Maybe. The universe is bleak, cold, and empty, but so what? Bleak, cold, and empty, but so what? Logically consistent, emotionally deadly.
What is so deadly about understanding the universe is not all warm and fuzzy? Yes, the universe is a chaotic and deadly place. However, we shouldn't let this stop us from setting goals and striving to reach those goals, to help each other and to live a full life.
You come from no one. You come from nowhere. You're here for nothing. No one can save you. Might makes right. Only the fittest survive. If you are losing, it's because you're a loser. If it's your pain, it is for progress, and so be destroyed in the name of forward advancement. And when you die, there is nothing, there is no one, you go nowhere. The universe is cold, bleak, and empty. But so what? Build your life on unyielding despair.
Now, wait a second. Do you think that because the universe is cold, bleak, and empty, we have to be? We are merely a part of the universe. We can consciously choose how we treat and act towards one another. When a friend is down, you pick them up. When a family member is hurt, you help them. After all, since there is no God to take care of the less fortunate of us, that means we as individuals should help each other in whatever way we can.
You ever wonder why atheists don't have great songs? That's why.
Funny. Atheists do not have good songs? Well, here's a few atheist songwriters. What about John Lennon, Björk, Billy Joel, Henry Rollins, Greg Graffin, among others? Look, I'm not saying I'm a fan of all these artists or even listen to them, but they are successful musicians nonetheless who happen to be atheists. Okay. So, what's the point of this whole diatribe?
Now, where this leads inevitably is that when your life really hurts, you're struggling, you're hurting, you're physically injured, you're diagnosed with cancer, your marriage is in shambles, your loved one has betrayed you, your children are wayward, your boss fires you, you're nearing your end, emotionally you're undone. Maybe you're just a tender-hearted, conscienced person and just life on the earth is very difficult for you. Here's where you end up going with this ideology. Depression. You're just depressed. You're just depressed.
I'm not depressed at all, personally speaking. Since I have accepted the reality of what surrounds my life, I've been happier than ever before. Looking back, the most depressing time of my life happened to be when I was a Christian. I'm not saying there's a correlation. I'm merely stating that there's no correlation whatsoever.
That's why the number one category of prescription medications is antidepressants. Not saying that all medication is a sin, but a lot of medication is a functional savior. People who don't know God and as a result don't have hope.
No, it just so happens there are a lot of people who are depressed and medication can help them. Your mood is controlled by chemicals in the brain. When various chemicals get out of whack, one can feel depressed for no real reason. This requires medication. Other times, someone can be depressed during hard times in life and may simply need therapy to help them through. The most your guide can provide is a false placebo effect. Therapy or medication do depressed people more good than your God.
It also leads to self-medication, drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography, shopping, violence, entertainment, a consumption culture, a conspicuous consumption culture.
Now, I don't have a problem with what other people do to their body. They can do whatever they please, just don't expect me to take part. Now, I'm personally straight edge. I don't smoke, drink, or do drugs, never have. But I don't care if someone else does, that is their business. I can say that my personal experience as an atheist has not led to any self-medication at all.
Thirdly, it results in suicide. If there's no God to judge me and no God to help me, and when I die, there is no consequence, then if it hurts really bad, why not just get it over? I'm going to die anyways. Let's just move the date.
No, this is absurd. I find it completely ludicrous to commit suicide. You have one life to live. I have one life to live. Why waste it? Why end your life early? If anyone out there feels suicidal, please seek help. When we die, that is it. I'm not ready to die. I have too many things I want to do with my life. It doesn't matter that there is no God to judge me. I simply don't want to waste this one life I have. This one chance to be a conscious part of the universe. And I'd hope that you feel the same way.
Prayed for a gal just an hour ago, bawling. She said, that's what I believe, and I was going to kill myself. What do I do? That's consistent. That's why teen suicide rates are up and girls cut themselves in junior high. That's why. That's why.
I doubt it is because they're atheists. More likely, it is because they are depressed by other circumstances in their life, in which case I hope that they talk to people and that people listen. I hope that you sat down and had a conversation with the girl instead of only praying for her. Praying will solve nothing. You have to intervene yourself, whether it is on your behalf or to help someone else. You can't just pray everything away.
You know, my sons, they're 8 and 10, they have a buddy who was diagnosed with cancer, elementary school boy. Good boy, nice boy, sweet boy. Recently took them to the hospital to visit their friend and bring him a gift and pray for him. You know what I didn't tell the Driscoll boys? Look, the universe is cold, empty, and bleak, but so what? And the key is to build your life, gentlemen, on unyielding despair. And only the fittest survive. So if your buddy doesn't make it, he's back on the food chain of Darwinian evolution, and that's what happens to the less fit.
First of all, let me say I hope that this boy has overcome his cancer now. I don't know what has come of him since this video, but I hope for the best. That being said, no, you shouldn't tell him those things. You should tell your sons to be there for him, to listen to him and talk to him, to be there in his time of need. I'm certain your children visiting him did more for him than your prayer.
It's unbelievable that people would adopt this as hope for their life. It's not hope for their life, it's certainty of their death.
Well, death is indeed certain. We will all experience it. However, one does not adopt atheism as hope for their life. We adopt atheism for logical reasons, because it is better to go through life with a basis of reality than to accept wishful thinking. It seems as though you only accept your Christian belief because it gives you hope in something greater than yourself, an everlasting life. But the truth is, no evidence for such things exists. I won't believe in something based on what I wish to be true, and that does not depress me. It makes me embrace what I have and try that much harder to reach my goals before my ultimate demise. Embrace this life that we have right now. It's the one thing that we all know that we have.